The Print Off the Cuff. Presenting partner Edelweiss. Experience partner The Quorum. Pouring partner Chivas.
This gentleman needs no introduction. Not only does he not need any introduction in this city, but not in the country, and in this geography in particular, in this 1.5 square kilometers, he's the Dada, right? Because everything that happens here is linked to him in some ways. His exchange, India is the 4th largest stock market in the world now, 4th largest. He has about 12 crore investors, 12 crore investors with about 23 crore accounts. You have what, 200 billion orders a day? 20 billion orders a day, 300 million transactions on a reasonably busy day. It is, the value of NSE is about 30% more than India's GDP today. And that's after 1 year of stall when the markets haven't grown and several weeks now of decline. The engine of Indian economy now is NSE. Ashishkumar Chauhan, I will give you 3 sentences to introduce yourself.
Thank you. Honor to be with you. I'll give answers in 3 ways. One is, if I were to introduce myself, I would say I am the Forrest Gump of Indian stock market. That I keep on running without even knowing what I will get. But pretty much 35 years of running, I think India has got a lot. So that is one way to look at it, that I kept on running for investors, for brokers, for ensuring that the markets run without fail and stuff like that. So the other part is that I'm the plumber of the stock markets. You don't see plumber who do your apartments or your bungalows. They are not important people. They are not to be seen. But if they are not there, I think all your gutters will start coming out, right? So that's where we are not important. And the third part is I'm the backroom boy of the stock market. That it's like an umpire in cricket match. He's there in every frame, but you never remember him, right? And that's what my job is. That's what I am.
He should know something about cricket because that is something that not many people outside Mumbai might know. He was the CEO of Mumbai Indians. So he's also a cricket coach come manager, come marketer, isn't it? That's why cricketing examples come easy to you.
Yeah, I mean, for all Indians, cricketing examples come easy. But I have a partner in crime sitting there, Vita Dani. She was there in sort of when we worked on it.
What did cricket teach you about the markets?
A lot. One is both are games of uncertainties. And second is you have to be humble. The next ball is what matters, not how many centuries you have made in the past. And that's not me, actually. Sachin has told me, right? So in his sort of evenings when we used to sit together and I would drink soda, he would drink his wine, and I would keep on asking him questions.
So now at least we know what Sachin drinks in his free time. That said, this is just an observation from me that Sachin's era was different. Today's cricketers and humility are actually a little bit distant. The game has changed.
No, you might be surprised. The boys you think are arrogant, in private life, they are the most soft-spoken, the most well-behaved young people who are actually superhumans, right? I mean, in that particular area which they work in, it's unbelievable. At 150 kilometers per hour when ball is coming, I can't see the ball. I mean, I have been a cricketer, but naturally way below, right? And so they are superhumans, but the amount of humility. Why? Again, there is a reason that any official like me can ruin their entire career in 1 second. And so they have been raised from childhood to be very, very humble with literally every person they meet. And that is actually true. We may get all the controversies. Some of them are actually made up. But broadly don't believe what you get in sort of media.
So I asked you earlier, what did cricket teach you about markets? What did markets teach you about cricket? What are the learnings that you took from the markets that you applied to cricket?
That technology works everywhere. Without technology, the game wouldn't be what it is today. And that you need to continue to be relevant when your past doesn't matter as much as what you do today at this place. And that's where I think the markets, they change every day. They're available. They don't, I mean, you get tired, but they will start at a particular time, end at a particular time. Like today also when listing has to happen, I sit with the promoter and I tell him, whatever this great drama that is going on, at 10 a.m., even if we don't ring the bell, market will start. So might as well be there at 10 a.m., right? So it gives you discipline, it gives you humility. The best, the brightest, the most intelligent, if they're arrogant, they will go down in our markets, and that is true with cricket.
So he's among the men or people who imagined NSE. He's also among people who reimagined BSE and then also conjured up something called Nifty. So tell us that story a little bit. First was a reimagination. BSE was a mess when you went there after the Harshad Mehta situation. Then the planning and imagination of NSE, then you left and then you went back to BSE to head it and then to NSE to head it. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
In a way, when I studied at IIT Bombay and IIM Calcutta, and then I thought I was not a great engineer, so that's why I thought I will leave engineering. I went to management, and then I wanted to join a financial institution. That's how I joined IDBI. Of course, I got a job there. And so I started, I was a youngest officer at what they call grade B. And I could type myself, I could work on computer myself, which was a rarity in those days. Computers were rarity. And I started doing those things in IDBI, and I got a reputation of a person who is good at IT, which is not true, because when you operate computers, you are just a user of computers and not the manufacturer of computer, right? But when people have not seen computers before or anyone using, that's how I got a reputation. And when Harshad Mehta scandal happened, IDBI was told to set up a new exchange which would be completely automated. And so they told IDBI to set that up. IDBI selected 5 people. And as they were like the top 5 young and slightly experienced, like 10, 15 years experience, but people who had performed. Those 5 people team they created. And one of them dropped out saying these automated actions don't work. And so they had to find a guy who cannot say no. And that was me, because I was just 1 year into the job. And I didn't even know what I was told. So I was working on a 9th floor for project finance. One day I was told you go to 19th floor and work. And I thought, okay, I'll go to 19th floor. That's how I got into the NSE team of 5 people who, and I was the only engineer in the team. I was the youngest by probably 5-6 years at least. And so I had to bring the tea if they wanted, and I had to do things which they couldn't do, like designing satellite telecommunications or designing algorithms of computers, or what they didn't want to do, like doing interior decoration or getting import licenses those days. So I was like a handy boy, right? The youngest and leke aao types. And then they didn't want to do, because ultimately Harshad Mehta's scam was about the bond market and RBI. And that was what...
Equity has got a bad name.
Naturally, of course, we have veterans here, Hemendra Bhai, Rameshji. So they will tell you why it happened. But broadly, it was a scandal of the bond market. Equities market got kind of a bad name. But the bond markets were about suit ties. People would sit in the offices, call each other and trade. Well, the stock market was about dhoti topi and fighting on the floor, right? That is how you see those. And so those people who were my seniors also didn't want to deal with the stock market, the equities market, because it was very anarchic, and sort of I was the only Gujarati, and I studied in Gujarati medium till I joined IIT. So when I had a claim to fame, because those days BSE's notices and many other actions in the country used to be in Gujarati. And so I could read and I could connect to the community. So even equities market finally was told that I have to run it. And that's how it came to me. I designed satellite telecom network those days. It was, but we did not have telephone lines, right? So how do you connect? And so we conjured up that we have this insect 2 ABC. We'll use that. And there are like long stories I can go on for a long time. But broadly, I designed that. And good thing at a 25-year-old, 24-year-old is I had complete confidence in the books. Now, of course, after so many years, you are not that sanguine about books. But at least engineering books work. Whatever is written, if you follow, normally they would work. And that's how what I designed actually worked. And that changed India completely in a transformational way. Not only in stock markets, but India's IT prowess started from NSE in a way. Although people become billionaires later on, and we worship billionaires because we think money gets you wisdom or wisdom gets you money, but not necessary, right? So that's where basically for me, the NSE's implementation of IT, which was across India in 1994, 95, and it was like a magic. That changed India. It gave that confidence. And many of today's multi-billion-dollar empires in IT would bring their potential customers to show them NSE saying that Indians can do this. That's how Y2K contracts came.
Now you have a transaction in 6 microseconds.
Yes.
6 microseconds. So, because you talked about your early days, I will tell you, in all our early days, we have the equivalent of what you were doing. We were all handy boys or handy girls when we started. So my equivalent of what you were doing in my generation for a new journalist was to be on the tray and fire duty. So tray and fire meant that all the press releases that came through the day, they were put in a tray, under a clip. So you had to check all the press releases, including my favorite in Chandigarh used to be the celebration of Diwali or New Year's Day or Christmas by Loins Club of Panchkula, LOINS. That's how it was spelled, Loins Club of Panchkula. So you had to check out all the press releases, and then before going home, you had to call the fire department. कि शहर में कहीं आग तो नहीं लगी. So that was called the tray and fire duty. So that is the journalistic, or that used to be the journalistic equivalent of what you described your job in IDBIS. Now today, are you more a finance professional or a tech professional?
In a way, I have been lucky to be many, many things in many areas. And naturally, when I started the technology part of NSE, but I also constructed what is now known as BKC NSE building, and also original NSE office in Mahindra Towers, few hundred meters from here. And so, of course, finance is something I've done all my life, and I wanted to be in finance. It's just that the luck had it that I tried to run away from IT, and IT kept on pulling me back all my life. And so, in some ways, I got the Best IT User Award in 1997 for setting up NSE's IT. But I also got the Lifetime Achievement Award as the Best CIO in the world in 2007 in Istanbul. And then I thought, because I'm so old, because IT requires young people, and they wanted me to retire from IT. That's why they gave me Lifetime Achievement Award. And so I kind of eased myself out. And my stock market Lifetime Achievement Award first time came to me in 2023. So literally almost 15 years after that. So in some ways, I've been sort of juggling many balls all my life, and IT and finance are like two large balls, which even today I have to sort of work on.
But you know, I'm older than you, but the fact is that our generation, if you look at our time, you had no choice. You either tried to go to an engineering college or to a medical school, right? And if you failed at either, Then you sat for UPSC. And if you thought you were not good enough for UPSC, then you became a journalist, right? Or in my part of the country, you tried to go to IMA or ND or places like that. So you did start out as an engineer. You loved finance. Good, you found your first love. Between your first innings in the stock markets at BSE the first time and your second, what changed with the Indian economy? Because first was generally pre-reform, the second was post-reform.
In a way, I joined the stock market as a framework in 92 end.
Yeah, reform had just
NSE,
started.
And I was there till 2000. And those days were about reform a day. We set up some of the most interesting institutions. We set up some of the most path-breaking frameworks across the world. We could think new. We could implement new due to variety of reasons that India was opening up first time from 91 onwards. But also the technology was coming up, which was very recent, and India was literally leapfrogging from no telephones, no mainframes to straight away server-based systems, entire India connected through satellites, and banking system was getting automated. So that is where India was kind of doing everything new. Although the impact of that scale which will we get after using that technology, nobody knew how it would take us in what kind of directions. And then we set up, we used to have, like I set up, created Nifty first. NSE started in equities on November 394. And by November 25th, I had a NSE 100 index already running real time because BSE had a Sensex. After 2 years, in 95, and I was told I had to set up derivatives, and derivatives required an index. And that's where I was told to create another index, and we finally figured out that it has to be 50 stock index after too many calculations. It could have been done even by magic number only, but we finally said it should be 63, but 63 looks odd, so it should be 50. And then we called it NSE 50. Then some programmer wrote in an easy way NFTY, and that's how it became Nifty. And then we started getting very many bad certificates. Those days we used to have certificates being exchanged for ownership. And we started getting very many bad certificates. So we decided that we need to have depositories. And so Depositories Act was brought in Delhi. We were sitting in Bombay, but we were calling up saying, if you don't do this, all this fast train.
So how many demat accounts does India have now?
India has around 21 crore demat accounts, probably 14 crore unique demat accounts in that range, give and take a few. Then we had issues of brokers defaulting all the time on the clearinghouse, and the clearinghouse closing down, like MS Shoes case, you might recall. Some of the young ones wouldn't recall.
Yes, Pawan Manchanda, who doesn't know, I think as a reporter, I covered that story as a crime story, not as a business or market story.
Correct. And so we then set up clearing
I
corporations.
think he disappeared to Dubai or someplace. Yes.
And so we set up clearing corporations to do margining, real-time risk management, giving settlement guarantees. So lots of institutions were created between 91 and 2000. Then I went out to start on my own, which I failed on. And then I became an employee of the largest business house in India. And I was their IT head. Again, I was trying to run away from IT, but IT was not leaving me. I was their IT head from 2000 to 2009, including, then I was also their handy boys.
There's a little story there, because when you came in, then Reliance Infocom, it was called then. Yes. They were making losses. They were making losses per transaction and per account, per user. How did that change?
In a way, again, the new technologies were coming, and I've been, in a way, singularly lucky person that every time there has been a technology break or a technology change or a kind of a framework change, I have been somewhere employed there in some or other capacity by quirk of fate, and not my doing. I didn't want to do anything in life. And so neither my father had any business.
You almost became a monk.
Yes, in childhood, yes. I was preparing to be a monk. And so monk is the easiest life, right? In a way, at least when you are a child, you think
I mean, when you are not a monk, you can say monk is an easiest life.
But I was preparing to be one, but I went to IIT and then life changed. And then in 2000, I kind of started on my own, failed. Then Reliance was setting up, who had funded me. They said that, of course, you have failed, but you look to be a sincere guy. Why don't you help us out in setting up this new telecom venture we are doing in what they call wireless in local loop, if you recall.
WLL.
Yeah, WLL and CDMA technology and all.
Right.
And most of this technologies come to me naturally because I designed the first SATCOM network, which is also wireless, right, in India and stuff like that.
But your training is mechanical.
Yes.
Not electronic or computer science. Harshad Mehta scam took place because of human beings. Because some people got into the act and they thought they could manipulate the market. Then we brought in technology. Is technology foolproof? Because it's also human beings who are using this technology.
See, for me, the technology...
Because I have a follow-up question once you answer this.
See, for me, technology is only a tool. The humans use it, right? It's like your car. That car has an accident, whether driver killed or the car itself killed the bystander or wherever, right? So that's where the issue is where to blame. It's easy to blame technology, but broadly speaking, everything that happens either is accident, because technology will have accident, car will have accident. Sometimes the brake will fail. But largely speaking, there will be humans who will try to take advantage of the system using technology. Some people will be slower, some people will be faster. Even today, people are using technology to do digital arrest, for example. Now, is it technology or humans? And that question will be there. It was there 1,000 years back, it was there 2,000 years back, it will be there after 1,000 years also. So humans have a tendency, whoever kind of gets to know some of the loopholes, they will try to exploit the loopholes, and that's how it's...
So there comes my follow-up question, the Jane Street futures and options issue. Was that a case of humans, very smart humans, who figured out how to use technology? Because that was a problem and that remains a problem, and people made a lot of money who were smarter, who could play the algorithms, and they were using technology. Whereas tens of thousands or maybe more who did not understand the intricacies of technology, maybe people sitting in small towns losing 10,000 rupees a day and nobody figuring it out. But somebody in the process made billions of dollars, somebody smarter. Do you think that was avoidable? You think you've now plugged this sufficiently so it would not happen again? Was it a scam? And if not, then why was it not a scam?
In a way, see, you can say that anyone who makes large amount of money has done something out of scam, right? Because we tend to think that people should not be making money because I have not made the money. And literally in this case, the amounts are so large that out of probably 10 crore people, only one person would have made that type of money. So the rest would feel that that is wrong, right? And it's a human nature to feel that it should not be done.
But you've all taken action on this.
So why I'm telling you this, everything can be called a scam. If the person or the group of people, they stay within what they call the law, within what is permissible by regulations, even if it is not morally correct, if it is legally correct, they tend to justify to themselves that we are legally correct. And that's where the line is drawn, what we call de jure versus de facto in sort of legal terms, that people tend to be more legally correct. They take some sort of interpretations like this. And in some ways, the modern systems allow the legal activities to continue, right? So the jury is still out whether it was actually illegal or not, because there has been order, which is interim order. It's not even a final order of SEBI that has been issued. And post that, there will be...
But regulations have been tightened or changed?
Little bit, but broadly speaking, once you do that, you also need to worry as an umpire or a referee that if you do too much tightening, the game itself will stop. Like in a hockey or a football, a referee has also duty to ensure the game continues, right? And so SEBI has to also ensure that
You don't see futures and options as a problem.
See, futures and options are also tools. In fact, Warren Buffett had said in 1994 or 95 when Nick Leeson had brought down Barings Bank using Nikkei 225 futures, that they are weapons of mass destruction. Same Warren Buffett's team started using later on. So for me, anything new that comes or which is unusual, we start thinking that it is wrong because that guy knows I don't know. That's why, and something else happened, then it's a weapons of mass destruction, it is wrong. But once people start using it, what does futures options do? Many times I ask people, what is a future or what is an option? In options, you get a right to buy something or to use something, right? Now, to give you a perspective, when you buy life insurance, what are you doing? You pay 1,000 rupees at age 25 and you get a right to die in that year alone. If you die, you exercise your right, then you will not be there because you have died. But your family will get 1 lakh rupees, right? You are taking an option to die for that year, right? But you are not exercising, nobody is going to exercise. But it gives you a hedge, right? Because if you die, your family gets that 1 lakh rupees, which is going to, nobody says that from 25 years to 80 years, literally 65 years, you have wasted your 1,000 rupees each because 65,000 rupees you would have wasted. But then somebody will get 1 lakh rupees. So when you count only one side of that option, that you have kept on paying premium, which is also called premium by the way, it is actually real life option. And you do that even in cinema ticket. When you buy a cinema ticket, what are you doing? 9 to 12 show in the night on a Thursday, you don't have to go. But if you want to go, theater has to give you that seat. At least nowadays. Earlier, probably they wouldn't. But that is also an option. If you don't go, it expires worthless, right? That's how, for me, many people think because you call it futures or option, it is bad. But you call it life insurance, then it's very good, sir.
Well, question for you. But before that, this is a bit more tricky because from what I read, they had an Indian company which was either driving up the prices in the morning or something. And the bigger company sitting overseas was then speculating because once prices had gone up. And so this was like vacuum cleaning of really small investors who didn't know what was going on.
So those are the allegations.
Those
it could have been done without futures options, like earlier, what Arshad Mehta did.
Right. But
Same
then the
thing.
volumes would not be so much.
Again, those times, volumes were very
I'm not
high.
blaming technology. I'm just saying that the system can be gamed.
Nor futures options. Right? It's a human nature.
Yeah. Go ahead. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, sir. My name is Abhishek. It's a privilege to be an audience to this conversation. I'm also a student of the Print School of Journalism, so great interacting with you all. My question is, NSE is conducting a lot of sessions educating people from tier 3 cities on all the frauds that are happening. So beyond the participant numbers which are being reported, what has the impact been? What other metrics are being tracked and what change have you seen? What strategy is NSE going forward to make sure everyone's educated?
No, again, see, there is a way to educate. There are points to educate about. Like today, although I argued in favor of options just now because he made a point that options are bad. They are good for if you know about it.
I said those can be gamed.
Right. Everything can be gamed. But for me, when I talk to retail investors, I say that don't trade in derivatives or futures options if you don't understand. It's like you don't drive a car if you have not trained yourself and got a license. You require to have license, but there are many people in India who have license but have not been trained. And so on and so forth, right? So if you have trained yourself and got a license because it's de facto and de jure, that is legally you are right and also factually you are trained, right? And then you can drive. Similarly, if you are not trained, don't come into derivatives because it is complex. It is not bad. It is that you are not suitable to it, right? And that's where basically how we communicate to people is on this counts that what you don't need to do, don't buy on tips because tips are free. Every day they keep on coming on your SMS, WhatsApp, wherever you go, somebody will say, "Arey, ye kharid lo." We tell them, literally NSE is the only organization in the world which is demarketing. All our advertisements, if you see, it's about what not to do on NSE that if you are not really doing, or if you are believing in tips, don't come on me. If you want to trade in derivatives, don't come on me. Why? It's because we think our job is to protect investors and not bring them to trade in risky instruments. Equity itself is risky. Derivatives are very risky, right? In between, like even bonds, everything has a risk, but ours are more riskier than, say, banking products, for example, the fixed deposits and savings and all. And that's where we tend to be very negative about, or we do negative marketing. We don't say mutual fund sahi hai or stock market sahi hai. We say, if you want to really trade in, are you sure you want to trade in sort of stock market or derivatives? Are you ready? Because have you done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Then only you come on me, right? So we are spending large amounts to ensure that the scams don't happen of people taking your user ID's password, doing it, trade on your behalf and then making huge losses and so on and so forth. So we are just running now a new campaign called SEBI versus scam, where we tell you that somebody will call you up saying, buy this stock and it'll double in 3 days time. Don't believe it. And so on and so forth. So that's where we use some.
Do you worry about the finfluencer phenomenon?
No, we do worry, but there were other types of influencers before, and so with the new technology, newer types of.
These are the Instagram influencers.
For me, I am also worried. See, what happens is if you come from mainstream media, then you think the web media is bad. If you are from mainstream media and web, then you think the influencers are bad. For me, everyone who tries to make you buy or sell something usually has an agenda, right? And it could be a very benevolent agenda, or it could be a malevolent agenda, or largely life is between some average of two, right? Some 20% here, 80% there type of things. And so I don't discount saying that the print guys are the saints of the world, believe in them, or influencers are the worst of the world. There are good influencers and there are bad print guys, and also on TV and also web and things like that. So and the same good guy could be also a bad guy in next moment. So it's not that all saints are saints for all their lives, right?
The question there, but before that, I will tell you that I know that a lot of regulators have issues about journalists also. And one of the former SEBI chairman, Mr. Damodaran, he said on Walk the Talk, when I used to host that show, he said that running SEBI, I realized that anchor investor, I used to think anchor investor is somebody who anchors a company. But anchor investor also means something else. And that those days we never used the expression virality, but that sort of went viral, and that sticks to his name even now. That said, the only thing I will say for conventional media, whether it's printed media or television media, TV channels, or web media, or the print, that all of us are intermediated editorially. So all of us have editors who clear something before it gets published. We also have institutional responsibility. We can be sued either for defamation or for damages or for any criminality. So that is not something that applies to the finfluencer community, because there is no institutional liability there and there is no editorial oversight there. That is the one difference. So आप क्या निकल गए उसके बाद, so journalistically I see a problem. I would not agree that both conventional journalism, it has, not everybody is perfect and there are lots of very bad people, but that is different from totally non-intermediated stuff that people put out on social media saying, everything you've been doing is wrong. You listen to me for 1 week, you just follow me, because you don't know what they are playing in the market. But those who are in public view and those who are intermediated editorially, they can be caught more easily because you can catch them through their institutions. That's all I would say. Now.
Hi, this is Partho Das Gupta. My question is for Ashish. Ashish, the $1 million question. When is NSE?
$1 million is nothing in this city. What $1 million?
Okay, billion. When is NSE getting listed?
No,
we are all insiders here.
Yeah,
So how many of you have unlisted shares of NSE? It's not a crime, see?
Yeah, the people who actually have more are not raising their hands. But they don't have to, right? You know all of them here in this room. But I have, as of now, as of today, I have 191,000 shareholders already having NSE shares, right? And naturally, 10 years, when I have rejoined, I left NSE in 2000, I came back in 2022. People, NSE has tried to list itself from 2016 onwards, so it's like 9 years, right? And each time some or other things happen and it has not been able to list. In some ways, last 3.5 years since I have been there, I have tried to clean up all the past. That is, in a way, it's all, of course, we can also disclose that in RHP about all the things that happened, all the court cases that are going on. All. So there is nothing wrong about that. It's just that once we get the approval, because we are a regulated entity, there is also a regulation that any regulated entity has to get, for their IPO to proceed, they have to get no objection certificate from their regulator. In my case, it's my own regulator, SEBI. So I have gone, asked them saying, you please give me the NOC first. After they give me the NOC, I will have to prepare the DRHP, which is that thick document which nobody reads comes, called Draft Red Herring Prospectus. And once, it will take me 3-4 months to prepare that. And of course, because we don't need money, we are reasonably profitable. So we have to do offer for sale. So we have to ask all of you and other people to deposit shares with us in case you want to sell in IPO, or what we call offer for sale. And so that will take some time, so around 3 to 4 months. Once we have got both this worked out, we'll file that DRHP with SEBI, which again, as another department of SEBI will go through all those documents about my degrees and whether I have made any wrong claims, or all other directors and all my other details. After that, they will ask us a lot of questions. They take usually 2 to 3 months to clear that prospectus. So somewhere after the no objection certificate comes, it will take somewhere around 7 to 8 months for us to do IPO. Now, you tell me, give me the exact date. I've dabbled in what I call astrology few times, but I've failed, right? So
I will tell you, since I'm an outsider to this environment, the financial world, I was a bit concerned because I saw a story from SEBI saying that SEBI was going to lift its objections to his IPO. And then I thought, once they announce the IPO, then he will go in the silent phase. So that's when I immediately called him and I said, let's set this up. And then Shailesh, who's his colleague, Shailesh told me that actually it will take a few months, but jo abhi ho jaye, wohi behtar hai. That said, some of your delays have come also from semi-divine reasons. There was also that semi-divine yogi that walked in. Kya hua?
that was before I joined.
Yes, of course.
What happened is, because of, sometimes I think this, I wanted to be monk, right? So I always believe whatever I did has some sort of providence attached to it, because I didn't even prepare for, say, becoming Mumbai Indian CEO or setting up Mumbai Indians or starting even my own business. It's somebody else prodded me saying, we'll fund you to chalu kar. So, or came to IIT also by quirk of fate, not that I had even registered for Agarwal classes or any such thing, because I was studying in Gujarati medium, I didn't know English only. And so everything has had some amount of providence, some amount of divine blessing. And so in some ways, 2 weeks back on a weekend, I was speaking at a conference in Chennai, and I thought, let me go to Tirupati. Since I've come all the way, might as well go there. And so when I reached Tirupati, I started seeing some headlines that NOC should happen before 31st January. Within January, which is, January doesn't have more than 31 days. And so by 2026, so that's how I said, okay, I reached that city and I started seeing this. So probably there is some sort of divine blessings there. And so I tweeted after the darshan saying, I came here and I sort of started observing.
So this yogi story I'm very interested in. Because I'm not a financial journalist. I'm a crime and politics journalist when it comes to my reporting years. ये कहाँ से आया और ये कहाँ गया?
हम लोग अभी तक ढूंढ रहे हैं. Oh, what happened is SEBI issued the order. SEBI wrote about, naturally there were emails between Invisible Yogi and our previous CEO. And we are still trying to figure out, there are people who have claimed, like every time there is a crime sometimes which is fantabulous, there are people who claim that they have done it. So there are people who have also gone to CBI and wherever and they have claimed that I am that guy.
But was this invisible yogi somebody who was quite visible in the system?
Whether it was actually invisible, that person was invisible or not, or a male or female, is still not determined. Once it is done, I will tell you.
Because only in India, this happens only in India, that the largest stock market, the fourth largest in the world, is almost laid low by a yogi who everybody thinks exists, but nobody has seen. So this is really the ghost who walks.
I agree. No, I'm still searching. Anyone gets it, please let me know.
That anybody gets to know, please tell us. That will be our scoop, because you heard it here first of all. Bhargavi, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Chauhan. My name is Bhargavi. Actually, I just
Bhargavi is a lawyer. Tell him what you do.
I write a finance and governance column for The Print every fortnight. So actually, I just want to zoom out a little bit from NSE and just hear your views on what do you think is the future of exchanges in India. Last 10-15 years have been particularly difficult. SEBI has banned in 2023, if you recollect, 5 agricultural commodities for derivative trading, which accounted for about 70% of NCDX's volumes. SEBI is coming down particularly hard on retail investors, so that obviously has implications for FNO volumes and revenue generated from there. NCDX is making noises about starting an equity segment. So where do you think, what is the future of exchanges? Do you think it will continue to be as duopolistic as it has been? Or do you see more exchanges coming up in the equity space, commodities space? Do you think it's going to close down? I don't know.
Bhargavi, also say where you work, what kind of research you do, the organization.
I actually run a company called The Professor. We work with courts data to predict case life cycles. So if you file a case today in court, using data, can we figure out when is it likely to come up for hearing? What is the success rate of a lawyer in front of a judge for a given case type? Just using data to figure out.
And what is the success rate of a judge in terms of disposing of cases? That is the other flip side of the coin, isn't it?
Yeah, that's, I guess, suppose from a policy perspective, that's really important.
So tomorrow you could rate the judges.
Yeah, I guess.
I said it, you didn't say it.
I didn't say it.
You didn't say it. So, answer a question.
I think it's a very interesting question and very pertinent. Only thing is, the way I look at you look at markets in very narrow sense. For me, when I started working, world was not about markets. World was divided into 2 camps, capitalism and communism. Today, even if you are in China or Russia or America or India, you are in marketism. There is no communism, there is no consumerism, there is no capitalism. Everything is marketism, right? And so markets have grown many-fold. When I started working on NSE as a project, the best of times, Harshad Mehta times. Today, my generation still thinks that was like the top of India's stock market, not now. Best of times, we could not do more than 10,000 trades a day. 10,000 trades a day on a BSE floor would take us 60 days to just ensure that what we had traded is correct or not. Because you will say this is sell, this is buy, this is 10, this is 20. It used to be a nightmare to, at the end, just reconcile what we did, right? And today, after say 94 through 2026, it's like 32 years. On a good day, I do 30 crore trades. Where is 10,000? Where is 30 crores, right? And in the process, the way the regulations, SEBI was not there. SEBI got its power in 93. We started working on it in 92, right? And there were strikes against SEBI's registering brokers. There were strikes. And from there, SEBI kept on tightening as and when some scandal happened, like Jane Street he mentioned, but any other scandal that happened that became large, SEBI would tighten and people will think, abhi business band ho jayega. Instead, business increased manifold. Why I'm telling you this is, the regulations actually bring you more trust. More tighter regulations ensure less accidents. And that's why whatever are SEBI's doings or ministry's doings is basically society's own collective experiences which come out into the regulations. For me, creation of regulations is like backseat driving. I mean, driving with mirror, sort of side view mirror being seen, right? Because all our past collective experience is what we put into regulations. Future, still accident may happen, we'll create new regulations at that time, right? And that's where whenever regulations come out, don't be afraid. Now, having said that, you give example of NSE and BSE, but when NSE started, there were 24, I mean, NSE was 24th exchange. NSE became very large, BSE remained small.
There was a Rajkot exchange, there was a Ludhiana exchange.
In fact, good thing about Rajkot is
all over the country.
Yeah, good thing about Rajkot is it did not have a recognized stock exchange, but it had 3 exchanges. Right? It is, I mean, when I tell you stories, I can go on for days about all of them, how I used to go personally and check that out, and people used to actually throw you out of the ring and all. But broadly, there will be many more markets. See, what markets are, especially the organized markets, were about what I call the markets which were standardized. And slowly, the technology allowed you to go into the long tail. In a normal curve, you have the middle side, which is what all our organized markets were, commodities and equities and bonds and all. Now, technology is allowing us to do the long tail markets. The markets where one customer is here, other customer is 5,000 kilometers away, and Amazon has done a wonderful job, or ONDC is now doing a good job and stuff like that, right? So these are all markets in its varied hues, right? Varied colors. And you think only stock market is the market, but now there are other markets which are cryptos, where there is nothing but on promise only. There is no promise actually. Many times I tell, what is the difference between a stock and a crypto? In stock, you have a promise of a share of profit, right? In crypto, you don't even have that promise. So beautiful, right? You have a promise of getting a new fool at a higher price. And that's where, but they trade like the same.
This shall be reported to Donald Trump right away. And Steve Witkoff and his son,
Of course.
and his son's Pakistani friend, right? To all of them.
And they might sanction me and put some tariff on me, which is fine.
You know, you said that good regulations make for better markets, safer markets, and also safer investors, more confident investors. The equivalent in geopolitical analysis is old line, the oldest line, which is good fences make good neighbors, right? So borders between two countries have to be very strongly managed, and then the neighbors will remain all right. So good fences make good neighbors. Similarly, good regulations make for better markets. That said, please go ahead.
Hi, sir. My name is Dhananjay Bagrodia. Thank you for the insightful conversation. Taking cue from Mr. Gupta's talk about institutional responsibility, do you think there's a requirement for exchanges, going from the question, from like a duopoly to get to like more exchanges, like how government is even trying the same thing in telecom, trying to de-risk from duopoly into like a third player? It's in airlines. Do you see that happening? Because then one of the two players will have to lose volumes. Do you think there's a need for that?
I will add to that the question I had asked you earlier. थोड़ा सा paper leak किया था मैंने. A couple of questions because I wanted to be sure that I don't make a fool of myself. That why does a country need two big stock exchanges? Why NSE and BSE?
Okay, so when I can give you theory because I'm a teacher also and I take like 40-hour courses on this, right? So all of you will have to sit for very long. But I mean, if you look at the world, which country has more than one exchange? Japan had Osaka and Tokyo. They have now merged.
Yeah.
Australia has Sydney Stock Exchange, which is now called Australian Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
London is a single.
LM.
Europe, all 27 countries or 22 countries have now 1 or 2 exchanges. And so effectively, exchanges in some ways are venues which can make you natural monopolies, right? But America on the other side has 50 venues. They have official New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ. Why they exist is because they don't trade overlapping stocks.
Yes.
But they also have Chicago Stock Exchange, which still exists, although doesn't do much. But they have CBOE, which has taken over another company to trade in equities also, and things like that. So America has now 50 venues which trade stocks. And so there is no one right answer. And if government tries to do anything to favor, it can actually create more perverse outcomes, right? So when you try to sort of interfere too much as government by having some sort of views that whether it should be monopoly or it should be oligopoly or it should be duopoly or it should have like 30, why 30? Why not 30,000? If 30,000, why not 55 lakhs? So all the questions can be asked. And when we were young as a country, we were poor as a country, there was an issue about resource, that if you have only so many resources, why would you want to sort of set it up on setting up 2 exchanges or 15 exchanges? Instead have 1. But now today we are having little bit of capital surplus and we can have many more. Technology has come to a place where you can have many more venues and all, but will they be better regulated? Because when we had 23 exchanges, the amount of nonsense that used to happen on trading floor, you cannot believe. There used to be revolvers fired, okay, on the floor. And many more. When prices would move up and down, people will default at will. Do you want that anarchy or you want more regulated exchange? So those are the questions. Although when we have not gone through that history or when we don't understand how this plumbing works in markets, because many people think our job is to make money. No. Once one journalist asked me that you will make a lot of money. I said, boss, if NSE makes no money, all of you will have to collect money and give me my salary. Because I am providing an essential function. Before COVID, Mr. Modi came on television, I think on March 27, 2020 or something. 1 week before that, Government of India made stockbroking as essential service. None of you have recognized that.
See, actually, NSE and the trading terminals, that was the most important and the most visible digital public infrastructure in India, DPI. Now we say Aadhaar, UPI, Google Pay, Paytm, all of that's come up later. But this was the first big DPI in India.
And so basically for us, we may make money is besides the point. It's nothing to do with me because I don't get stock options. None of us, actually none of my employees get. I don't get either. I don't get a bonus, nothing. In fact, they take 1/3 of my salary, keep it for 3 years. In case something goes wrong, they will actually take it back also. But
how much do they pay you? Because, you know, the kind of things that can go wrong in a stock market, they will not recover very much.
No, that's why
your salary.
Many times I say that not many people want to work for NSE. Because when you make money, you think it is your brilliance, right? When you lose money, you want me to be sacked, right? So each time, each of you, all 12.5 crore investors and people who have not invested, even they are more sort of vigilant about our behavior, right? And so, especially journalists, right? And so they want us to go every day.
I'm guilty as charged, although I do very little about financial journalism, but it's all right. I speak for the tribe.
So this is a very tough job. I mean, somehow I got used to it. And I feel literally empty when I don't go to office. Sometimes on Saturday morning also, I start going towards office and my wife says, "Arey, aaj to chhod do." But basically it's because you get habituated of that stress. But not many people can take that, right? When you have no upside and infinite downside. Tomorrow any scandal can come out, Jane Street, and your name will be there. And then you can't even
Jane
talk
Street,
to
your name is not there.
Or in some other scandal they can take out, issue an order, and now you are dead. At least your character is gone, right? 35 years of hard work, not a single allegation, suddenly in 1 second it's gone. It's not easy. Why I'm telling you this is many times people think these guys are kings. But we are just sort of worker bees and we don't take decisions. Decisions are taken by the computers because, as he said, now in many markets we have started experimenting with nanosecond response times. 1 second as a million microseconds, 10 lakh microseconds, and 1 second as a billion nanoseconds, 100 crore nanoseconds. Now, this year, even in equities and equity derivatives, you will start getting response time in nanoseconds. That is billionth of a second, 1 by 100 croreth of a second, right? And it's so fast that, when I used to do response time in microseconds, I used to say that difference between 1 second and 1 microsecond is the same as a difference between 3,500 years and 1 day. Suppose you have to take a decision today and you say, "Aaj nahi, thoda sar dard ho raha hai, kal karunga." In my microsecond to second life, it was almost like entire civilization, 3,500 years history. Now, with nanoseconds, it will be like 350,000 years, right? Which is pretty much dinosaurs' time, right? And so that's how these things happen. They don't happen because I say, "Isko jaane do, usko band karo." Bas 2,000 crore order aate ek din mein. Kis ko dikhaunga? है ना? It's all done by computers. Decisions are taken.
इसलिए वो उसको टच करने से पहले स्क्रीन को एक बार सोच लेना, क्योंकि by the time you think it's over, because 6 microseconds today is like 6 millionth of a second. It's very difficult to imagine that time. That said, sir, you have the microphone?
Yes, sir. I have been in the business for 63 years.
Please tell us your name.
My name is Bhupen Dalal, originally a stockbroker.
Yes, indeed.
Now a lawyer at the age of 65. Because in the so-called Harshad Mehta scam, rightly or wrongly, there was a trial by media, which is where you come in, not necessarily Mr. Shekhar Gupta, for whom I have great respect, but the industry as such. It took me 32 years to get my name cleared in November 2024. One thing I would like to say, you got a regulator who, is he really able to stop any scams? That is the first question. Second question is, India has a stock exchange which is more than rather 2 years older to Tokyo Stock Exchange. So we are much ahead of time. Yet, as on today, as far as this regulator is concerned, it's nothing but a circular making machine. And such things have been put into the Indian scene. Say the promoter. The idea of promoter is not there in any stock exchange of the world. Second thing is, the last question, is that here in India, if you are a promoter of a company or a KRP, that means a person in knowledge of the company, you are not allowed to trade for half the year. Now, if every small idea, such as a strike or a lockout, you have to inform the stock exchange, where is the need for what you call the close period? Every 3 months, the promoter or people in the company are not allowed to trade.
I think some of these questions are better addressed to the SEBI chairperson. And I think in the course of time, we'll bring the SEBI chairperson also to you. Nevertheless, since you are the master, please go ahead.
No, again, I empathize with sort of many regulations, but also the fact is, when we started 92 in Harshad Mehta scam, I also sympathize, not only empathize with what you mentioned about media trial and all, but broadly, we had give and take few, around 1 million investors in India in 1992. It's like crores in Delhi, right? When Birbal was asked how many crores, he said 90,999, because if there are more, then they've come from outside like that.
Right.
So I'm just, because there were no such counting those days, but I'm just saying that there were probably 1 million shareholders of any company in those days. Today, we have NSE alone has 125 million, that is 12.5 crore. Total, I was told by somebody in SEBI that totally with mutual funds and all, it's around 14 crore, right? Where is 1 million or 10 lakh? Where is 14 crore? What is it that we do as a system, that is SEBI, stock exchanges, stock brokers, companies? What do we do? we manufacture trust. Trust of what? Small little people into other small little entrepreneurs. Some of them have become very large now, they can't be called small. But broadly, what is the theory of economics? Is that people putting money into pooled vehicle, which is the company, and if the profits happen, it is to be shared in that proportion, right? That is the theory. And that is not God-given. It actually, the first stock exchange was started in 1602 in Amsterdam, called Amsterdam Stock Exchange, for East India Company, Dutch East India Company, right? Just giving you some history, even way before 1875 when BSE was set up. But broadly, what we manufacture is small investors' trust into the entrepreneurs, right? Because they are putting money in that person's hard work, also in his morality, that when the profits are there, he will not siphon it off. And it's a very strange thing that there are economics books written on this particular issue, that poor people, poor economies, poor countries per capita income cannot have well-functioning capital markets. Why? Because poor people cannot save. And even if they save, they don't trust their brothers. How will they trust somebody sitting in Arunachal Pradesh? Why will she put in her 1,000 rupees hard-earned into some entrepreneur who she is never going to meet in Salem near Coimbatore? But she has that trust that मेरा 1,000 रुपया जाएगा, वो बंदा लेगा, उसमें वो मेहनत करेगा, पैसा बनाएगा, उसमें से थोड़ा एक भाग मुझे मिला. कितना, what leap of faith, right? And poor country is not supposed to do it. We are the only exception. At $3,000 per capita GDP, we are the only country with a vibrant stock market, which is like 4th largest in the world, $5 trillion. At $6,000 also, there is no similar market. At $12,000, no similar market. $24,000, there is a market which is similar called China. But there, if prices go down, sir, government goes and buys. If prices goes up, government tries to reduce prices. In India, after say 2000, 2002, have you seen anything government doing? Why? This is Swayambhu market, I call it. Small little people investing in other small entrepreneurs. It is such a brilliant leap of faith. Why it has come? Because of corporate governance. You can say we are the worst. I would say I am the best corporate governance on behalf of SEBI. Because of whatever promoters, because promoters are taking money, they are making decisions, they don't want to be responsible. That's why they keep on telling me, America mein nahi hai. But Walmart family is still running Walmart by putting one front CEO like me with some good looking salary, but they are hundreds of $1 billion worth making decisions, putting some guy, and there is a fiction run that CEO is running the company. For me, India is what I call promoter-driven entrepreneurial economy in whose name investor is putting money, not in the CEO's name. आप किसी भी जमीन को बिठा दोगे नहीं तो, है ना? So promoter has the rights de facto, whether de jure or not. They are able to bring all the CEOs, take them out, bring all the directors. So that's where Indian regulations are much tighter. Today, if you take corporate governance standards of related party, other things, most people don't like it. But because of that, this trust has been created. And trust is very difficult to develop. 30 years it has taken us to come here. Very easy to give up. For me, all of us are drinking out of the same pond, boss. Once we dilute, once we put the poison in that pond, all of us will be hurt. Be very careful. It is difficult to follow regulations. But if we don't, entire society is going to be hurt, right?
Question in the back. Before that, I'll just say two things. One, there might have been excesses, and I'm not denying that you suffered, and it took you a long time clearing your name because you cleared your name. But the fact is that on the Harshad Mehta scam, media actually played a very constructive and useful role. Because at that point of time, it was just only the media or some sections of the media which called out the scam. Because if it wasn't called out, then an equity culture would never have come up in India. Trust would never have come back. So, because that could have just carried on. And some of that happened later in the Ketan Parekh era as well. So, media doesn't get it all right. There can be excesses also, and there can be victims. But at the same time, media has a role to perform. And in the Harshad Mehta case and the Ketan Parekh case also, I think the media did a pretty good job. And to that extent, they became protectors of Indian capitalism, which I would believe. So that said, we'll go to the back. I will also know most of you are much younger, but if you are about my vintage, you would remember, particularly on Sundays, seeing people, particularly older people, meeting in a park with shared certificates, doing their own deals, shared certificates and transfer forms, and filling them up and shaking hands and saying, ye deal ho gaya, because to go to the market was very difficult, and to trust a broker with doing a deal in your name at a particular price was always problematic. So India has come a very long way. Go ahead.
Good evening, sir. My name is Konark Tiwari. I used to work in institutional equities. Now I'm a full-time investor. So, sir, my question to Ashish, sir, is that you have always been a tech guy, and we were now talking about algo trading and technology. So, right now the scenario in India is most of the algo trading and HFT profits are taken by the big firms. So, what is your view on the algo trading and HFT in India, and how can a retail investor benefit from this technology?
So we've come back to
but I'll just tell you
F&O.
that if you don't trade in the basically markets if you are afraid. If you are not ready, if you are not...
He is quite ready, I'm sure.
Right?
And I'm sure he's doing that every day for 1 hour.
Yeah, so don't do every day.
And he's not losing money to Jane Street.
Right? I mean, probably he worked for Jane Street, but that is besides the point, right? My request...
You should say not guilty.
My request to every wannabe investors, small investor is, what is investment? It is long term. Invest for 3-5 years. Buying in the morning and selling in the afternoon is not investment, boss. It is trading. And there you are going to lose money for sure, because the cost of transactions, which is what I call friction in the market, itself is going to take your money. So don't think you are smarter than others, and nobody is taking your money. Nobody is forcing you to trade. Please don't trade. It is important to not trade. See, to control ourselves is also a good trade, right? So never trade unless absolutely needed. And there also control your urge. So that only absolutely when it is needed, then only trade, and preferably once in 10 years, right? So that is how I would put it. I'll tell you, if you had invested in Nifty in 1995, 3rd November, okay, that is the base I created. It started on April 96, but with a base of November 3, 95 price, because we had some emotional sort of attachment to November 3 on that day NSE started.
Why?
November 3, 94 is when NSE started equities.
All right, okay.
And so that time it was 1,000 rupees, okay? If you had taken 1,000 rupees and put it into Nifty and forgotten about it, just slept. Today, with all ups and downs, it will be 25,000 rupees. And if you take the dividends, average around 1.5-2 years, Ramesh ji will tell you, if you do CAGR of that, you will be around 32,000 rupees, right? 1,000 rupees to 32,000 rupees on a most liquid market, you had just slept. Do nothing, you will be very rich today. And you didn't have to even worry. So many times I say that in America required Warren Buffett. India has given you Nifty. Invest in that. Why are you doing all these upar niche? Kyun karna hai bhai? If you have a lot of energy, you are reading too much, start running, Don't try to trade.
What he means is, if you think you are really hot at it, do it, right? And if you get it wrong, then maybe somebody is hotter than you, right? But if not, then buy something and stay put. So you said something, I think I saw it in your Forbes article. You said that over the past 29 years, Nifty has given you more than gold or S&P. Number one, will you say that for Nifty even now, because gold has run up like this? And second, you've also said that in this December, we crossed a Rubicon, in the sense that Indian individual investors became larger owners of NSE stocks than foreign portfolio investors, FPIs. Now, the two questions are linked. Number one, or let me ask it as one question. 1.5 years, stock market has given very little return. The last month, it's done quite poorly. I saw a story in Bloomberg today, which we just ran, that there's been a $360 billion loss on Indian markets this year already. How long will these domestic investors hold their nerve? Or will it be better now for the government? Hemendra, I'm just coming to you. With the budget coming up, to address this problem and get FPIs back.
Again, government is trying to bring FPIs back. And again, FPIs have many choices. Hopefully, when they see that we will give them better returns in future, they will come. See, they are not going to come just because I am very nice to them. Right? So that is how I see.
Is taxation an issue, the changes in taxation?
See, for me, that's what I call a storm in the teacup. Why? Is because tax is to be paid only when you make profits, right? If you are not going to make profits as an economy for those people, as a investor, investing activity, then naturally you are not going to pay any tax at all, right? So those people, because what happened is, the capital gain tax came at certain point in time, I think 2017, 18. After that, all of them came in droves. They did not run away. But when India's price to earnings ratio went about a particular number, that's the time they thought that India is now, prices have run ahead of the profits. So when profits come closer to that reality, they will come back and stuff like that. So of course, our regulations can be much easier and stuff.
Do we expect something in the budget now for...
Of course.
To get FPIs back?
Yeah, why not? I mean, naturally we need some way to make it easy for them to register, to come in, and so on and so forth. And I expect that it's going to happen in budget or post-budget, because they don't have to announce very details in the budget. But other part about the retail investors, see, the way I look at it is, unlike fixed deposits, which give you daily some return, right? You have 5%, then you divide it into 365 or 360, and you will get that, right? That is a consistent return. It's an illusion of consistent return, and most times it is true. So you think it will come. Sometimes banks go bad. You may not get the full stuff, but that's besides the point, right? Whereas other assets, they have lumpy movements. So some assets will move very fast and then remain there or come back if they've run ahead. Or like gold, didn't give that type of returns for very long, but suddenly it has moved. Why it has moved is because now people think gold is the new crypto. Because crypto guys have said that ours is the extremely finite numbers, and that's why
ours is the new, they said ours is the new gold.
Yeah, now
right?
the
gold
crypto is the
crypto
is the, I mean, the gold is the new crypto, or silver is the new sort of newer Ethereum, whatever, and stuff like that. But for me, all different asset classes, if you think they are assets, because for me, crypto is neither asset nor anything. It's a make-believe world. But so what? Even it's like M.F. Hussein's painting, right? If you have a lot of money and you don't mind spending 100 crore, might as well buy it, right? So that's how you do for crypto also, to be sort of happy about having some random number in some series, right? But that is, again, not the point. But say commodities like oil, they will also move very fast in some direction, then probably may come down, remain. So most assets, even real estate, they get returns in lumps, in small little chunks. But that time, if you are very smart, then only you can sort of plan for that, riding that only small little wave. Otherwise, if you remain there, broadly equities across the world, and especially in growing economies, have given better returns than all other asset classes. And despite gold's recent run-up, still Nifty with dividends is running much higher than gold even now. And I don't know, probably gold might run up even further because of shortages, because of thinking that it will have shortages, or people want to move out of dollar, which might fall, and that's why they are going to gold, whatever the reason. But in the long run, if India is going to grow, India grew around 6.5% average for last 31 years, right? If you think India is going to grow at that 6.5%, 7% at least for next 35 years, that 1,000 ka 25,000, so 25,000 ka kitna hoga? Multiply by another 25, I can tell you it's 6,25,000. But that is how it's arithmetic, like Geeta Gopinath told, na? Ki India will become third largest
in 2028.
Why is because she says it's
mathematics.
How is it arithmetic? Tomorrow it may not happen. But that's how all of us as teachers tend to think it is certainty. There is no certain part.
Yeah, that's how IMF has projected India's growth over the next 5
What I'm
years.
saying, you can project and I may not
Right,
do it,
right,
and I may do
right.
actually better than that.
Right,
Right?
right.
Ashish, my question has been to not only to you, but I earlier raised last couple of years back for finance ministry. Today, there are so many youngsters coming up and putting up a new venture. They're raising money to private wealth. The same time, they are not listed, and private equity, or you call it a venture capital, which is coming, and we want more youngsters to come up and create new enterprises. Today, there is no way. We have found that for many years they are not listed or there is no liquidity. I suggested, why not create a secondary market for them in some ways, where NSE can create a kind of subsidiary or whatever way you call that, and create so that they have 2-3 years of accounts online, and buyer and seller can come together. Something of that sort is required, or a kind of exchange, over-the-counter exchange, whatever you call that. But it is necessary for new youngsters to come up and put up, because today they are not getting funds, because the money gets stuck for many years and there is no liquidity. That is one. Second thing, on a little larger thing which I raised many years back when NSE came up actually, that why 2 stock exchanges? Because it is just not only arbitration between the two. One exchange will always create a better liquidity position. Though it is enough liquidity today, but I'm just saying, why 2 stock exchanges?
I think that question was asked in an opposite way by another person, saying that why you have only 2, why can't you have 23 or 23,000? And I can again go ad nauseum on many of these things, but broadly there is no right answer, there is no wrong answer. As I told you, Japan has 1 exchange, but there are again many venues trying to come up there. And
Why don't you think about this, that as is merging maybe the exchanges, and so that it is created 1 stock exchange?
No, I think about it every day, sir. But the fact is, there is a reality to life, and creating monopolies have their own ill effects on life. It may look easy. It's like, why India should have 15 soap manufacturers? Why can't have 1 green soap? Nobody needs to then bother about green, blue.
I've seen that. I've seen that in the Soviet Union.
Right.
When you knew that these factories were making soap, and suddenly word would spread that soap was coming into the market, and you didn't know when the next lot will come. So you stocked up so much soap under your beds that people began to get skin rashes with the fumes. They had so much soap.
But inherently, I am not against monopolies. I am not against duopolies, nor I say that you need to have 10,000 exchanges and all. So I'm kind of more realist, because after looking at 23 exchanges, then after that also 2 more exchanges have been allowed. NCDEX has been allowed, MSCI has been allowed. So, and I'm kind of okay with that, because America has 50 venues. Every day somebody else comes saying, "Arey boss, tum aa jao, main tumko America mein naukri deta hu, tum chala lo." So I also get offers. At least people like me will get post-retirement jobs, sir. Please allow more exchanges. But broadly on the other side, which is a more interesting question on what happens to youngsters who don't get basically funded. That's why, I am one of them. I created a company which was funded. Then I created another company which was running okay. I went to my friends saying, you please fund me. And I was from finance, right? I set up NSE. And they will say, yaar, if you have $25 million turnover, then aa jana. So I would say, ki boss, $25 million to tumhare paas aunga kyun? So it was a nice way to say no to a good friend, right? Instead of not funding him. When I joined BSE, because that company was taken over by BSE, so that's how I joined, not because out of volition. It was like a dowry to my wife. My wife was the owner. She sold the company, and they put a condition that I have to go as a whipping boy. You know whipping boy story, right? How whipping boys used to go to in Britain, a princess, when she was married, she will have one boy also going with her. So whenever the husband wanted to beat her up, he had to beat up the whipping boy. So that is how I went to BSE as a deputy CEO. But broadly, why that time we started thinking, how do we create a framework for small companies? Because page 3 of a pink paper, if you read, you get a feeling for last 20 years that all trespassers are being funded, which is not true. Most people don't get funded. Out of 10,000 companies which want to get funded, only one gets funded. Provided they are friends of somebody or have some American successful business model, they get funded. 9,999 people don't get funded only. So I said, how do we create a framework for small people to raise money from the markets? So we created a platform called SME platform. Today, after it started trading in 2012, today after 14 years, 700 companies are listed on NSE, almost 700 are listed on BSE. Totally, 1,400 companies have raised around 28,000 crore. Their market capitalization is now close to 5 lakh crore. That is the wealth creation, which nobody talks about because we don't get it printed in those pink papers or third page because we don't give money to nobody, right? We are only a platform. But we have helped create that, while as other people who are not willing to transact, what happens is...
All that is right. The question which I am saying is, why don't you create...
I'm coming to that. So why I'm telling you this is, a company, when it comes to public, when unknown people trade with unknown other people, in buying a company, that company has to commit to an authority, saying, I will give you all the information that is relevant to price my assets. That is including the share, including the education certificates of the promoter or all the quarterly results. If they say, no, I'm not willing to give you that prospectus, still allow me to trade. Whenever there is a scandal later on, because the companies will also get, and they will run away. That time, same people who are saying, start it, will go after the CEO, that is me, right? There is only one CEO, how many times you can kill me, right? So that is where, and I don't want to get killed. So that is also, I have been resisting that, boss, you cannot have this type of platforms unless the company promoters or company management is giving all these commitments to do this and then follow it up. And naturally, they have to give public information, which is called prospectus. Just to give you another perspective, around 8-9 years back, there was this need which SEBI adhered to, saying you need to list without prospectus. This is what you are calling it, is listing without prospectus. It started doing, and that time capital gain tax was 0. So many companies came. There were exactly one transaction in those companies. 1 rupee had become 10,000 crore or 100 crore. By 1 rupee share had become 100 rupee share. 1 crore had become 100 crore or 10,000 crore. And then capital gain tax were claimed, that is exemption was claimed at 0, and bye-bye. At least 50-50 companies were listed on both exchanges. After that, those companies have not been seen. Why I'm telling you this is, it may look like a great idea, but basically of what function we perform is to try to create orderly, well-functioning markets where there is a trust. If you can create an ability to provide those information which a listed company will give, then there is no problem.
But then you try to put something where otherwise this private equity investment which they have made for the youngsters, promoters, whatever you call that on that side, they are not getting any more funding now. In last a year or so, no more money is coming in to the new entrepreneurs or those.
Is the private equity so what he's saying is, what I try to tell all youngsters from 2012 is, whenever you take private equity, venture capital, angel, whatever name they come from, hedge fund, any other name, English, Gujarati, Hindi, Marathi, whatever names they come from, whenever you take outside money, at that time you list on NSE Emerge. We will more than welcome you. So you will be listed also and you will get that fund also. But you say, no, I will get 10,000 crore fake valuation and now it is world's duty to give me that 10,000 crore fake valuation every day. That is not possible, boss.
Hi, sir.
Actually, you cued me to another important point. That is, if you have one stock market, because everything is now algorithm based and everything is totally tech-driven. Something like a cyber attack on one creates a much greater systemic risk if you have only one exchange. On which note I can ask you, during Op Sindoor, how many millions of cyber attacks did you get? And from where were they coming?
No, in 10 minutes we got 40 crore attacks to close down our websites. Not that our websites, if they close down, nothing happens, because our trade happens separately on different network. But they were naturally motivated by
but you know, I will just add that India's adversaries, they knew that if they want to really hurt India, what is it that they should be attacking? So they were attacking NSE at that point. 40 crore in 1 hour?
In 10 minutes. Yeah.
10 minutes.
And so, naturally, it's our job to ensure that we are able to still protect all this web and our assets and all. But naturally, like 3 years back, we used to get on a normal day, like 3 crore attacks. Today, on a normal day, I get 20 crore attacks, because attackers also have become robotic, and they are pay for use. So you pay them $10 and they will attack you like 1 crore times, and you pay them $20 and they'll attack twice and stuff like that. So everything is, with AI, it will be even worse. And so we have to be always very sort of little, and all these attacks, like I get in a 1 year, so literally trillions of attacks. I have to be successful each time, but they have to be successful only once, right? It's a very unfair game, but that is the game I am in, right? I can keep on crying, but I still have a job to do, right?
So will you, now that I have you talking about this, did these attacks come from Pakistan or from China?
See, what happens is, the way these attacks originate is from a particular place, but they first send their slaves to other countries' servers, and then they give them a signal that attack now.
Slaves is not slaves like old
human
times.
slaves, but the servers become slaves. That is, the virus goes and sits there, and then it is given a trigger that now attack this IP, and that is how they start. It's called distributed denial of service, and there are many other attacks, but that's how it may be coming from America, but it was triggered by somebody sitting in another country and things like that, right? So we don't see, we don't believe where that server is the actual attacker, because it comes from all over, and you get overwhelmed.
But your system was good enough to
withstand that, right?
But what lessons have you learned? Indian Air Force has learned lessons, Indian Army, Indian Navy, everybody has learned lessons from Op Sindoor. What lessons have you learned? Because next time the attacks may be at another level, because attackers have also learned their lessons.
So we have increased our investments. We try to sort of source the best technologies on cybersecurity from across the world, test them, implement them, keep on checking through our own algorithms, because there are known attacking groups. Each of them have like style of attack. And so we have now algorithms which you say, this is the attacking style, attack on that basis. So we get our own selves attacked by our own robots to sort of ensure that we are not vulnerable in that area. We get ourselves checked by third parties every moment. They keep on trying to attack us. We have what we call raid teams and all sorts of different third-party hackers. We pay them to try to attack us, so that in case they are successful, they will tell us, ki bhai, yahan pe you have a problem, so resolve, before other people, nefarious people, start getting access to us and things like that. So there are many things which I can tell you, but it's like a full day's job for literally thousands of people for NSE.
So two most favorite targets of attack were Adampur Air Base and NSE servers. That's the reality. That's the reality. That said, we'll take a question from the back, but before that, a question from one of our subscribers, Sashank Medhi, who's from SBI Funds Management Limited. He's asking, is NSE pursuing plans to enable direct listing of foreign stocks, or this will be done through GIFT City?
Already, we are in the process of listing a real IPO stock in GIFT City just now. There is an RHP which has been filed. And we are also in the process of listing one of the foreign companies on GIFT City just now from Cyprus, where we have a tie-up to do dual listing. And so those things are in the fray currently.
Thank you, Shekhar. Hello, Mr. Ashish. My name is Sriram. I raise money for venture capital funds and startups. That's my day job. And at the moment, I'm raising money for aerospace and defense companies and manufacturing companies. It's not easy, like the person out there was mentioning. VC money and private equity money comes with a lot of expectations and pressure. If these companies can get access to public markets, nothing like it, because they need the money for private R&D, which is expensive and the gestation period is too long. So what is NSE doing to enable the most priority thing in this country at the moment is manufacturing in defense and aerospace? What is NSE doing to support these companies?
So interestingly, we have participated in this defense expos. We have made presentations there to all those young entrepreneurs saying that whenever you want to raise money, come and raise on our SME platform. And if you want 5 crore, I have 12.5 crore investors, right? Even 10,000 people, even 1,000 people believe in your story, you will get 5 crores. But you will have less problems compared to a single party taking over even 10% of your company. They will start pushing you, right? Here, the small investors do not push you, plus there is a standardized way of doing things, right? So that's what we try to do. Many of them have listed on us also, like drone companies, many of them have listed on us. And they've done very well. We also tied up with Department of Defense. We have an MOU with them. There is a particular reason why I'm glad you have asked this question, is that what happens is, most of our entrepreneurs are not rich, right? We don't come from a rich background so even if we get 10, 20, 30 crore as a valuation, we are very happy and we are willing to sell our entire company. So many of our, very nice defense companies which are at that idea stage, or just DRDO is going to give you some contract or they're testing you. That stage, foreign companies of defense origin or their front private equities or venture capitalists come, give 10, 15 crore to those companies, take over those companies and ensure those companies don't actually move forward. They deprive us of the latest, lowest cost defense technology, and that is the worry I have, that if I don't get them that 10, 15 crore or 5 crore, when somebody else wants to come and take over, prices would go up and then that person will have to now put in 1,000 crores, right? And then that guy will find it difficult. So that is my understanding, that I need to do that. If you have some companies willing to come, to be disciplined, because our investors will ask questions and you have to train those youngsters to answer those questions. And we are ruthless, right? Person who puts in 1,000 rupees is important, that 1,000 rupees is important to her. And that's why she will ask you very tough questions. Whereas private equity guys will put an MBA who has never done a job because it's only 5 crore for them. And then that guy will try to run you. He may not ask you questions, but he will run you into the ground, right? So those are the situations. We don't, my investors don't push you too much, but they ask you tough questions. If you can train them, please bring them. We would be delighted to support them.
It was a good question, and the fact is that in the space startup sector, this has worked out quite well already. I think on that note, we have to bring this to a close. Do you want to say something in conclusion?
No, thank you, sir. Thank you for inviting me. I am nobody. As I told you, I am a backroom boy. We know each other for long, but we have never had an interaction at length. So probably he took a chance to also have interaction with me on this in public. But thank you, sir. An honor to be with you.
Thank you very much. We are all honored to have you, and we are even more honored to have all the rest of you. I know this is Mumbai. Everybody has stuff to do in the evening. Every evening there are 25 competing events, and many will have film stars and cricket stars, and you have your choices. So thank you very much. As they say on American Airlines, that we know you have a choice of many carriers, but you chose Delta. And we have to be particularly unfortunate to choose Delta. But if you did, they still say that. So let me say that. Thank you very much for sparing the evening for us.
The Print Off the Cuff. Presenting partner, Edelweiss. Experience partner, The Quorum. Pouring partner, Chivas.